Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
When we deal with adversity in our lives, we move past it, but many of us believe that things happen for a reason. There's a lesson to be learned. And in this woman's situation, she dealt with adversity, and that has turned into her helping people through energy work and energy healing. And we're going to talk with her today. I've talked with a lot of people when it comes to this energy work. This seems radically different, and I'm intrigued to learn more from Brenda Asterino, who joins us right now. Hi, Brenda. How are you?
Hi, Steve. I'm great. Thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you. Lots to talk about, lots to learn about. I know you're involved in art, something called subconscious painting, which can't wait to figure that one out with your help. And you also have a book. We're all going to get to that. But out of the gate here, you're involved in energy healing. And when I say those two words, it conjures for me a picture of Reiki or chakra balancing or other modalities similar to that. When you help people that are going through a trauma, maybe they're stuck in life, they need some clarity, all of that, you heal them in a very different way. Tell us how this all works.
Okay, so let me correct one thing you said.
Sure.
Okay, the energy work it is a balancing, it is an integration of energy in the body, but the person really does their own healing. So
you know what? Yes, it's you give them the keys to heal themselves.
Yeah, one teacher used to say we give them more wax on their candle.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Okay.
Gotcha. You know, it's the same thing. It's the same thing with hypnosis. Another modality can help you heal through a lot of the things that we just mentioned. And it's not like somebody's controlling your mind.
Right.
They're just allowing you to get in your head in a good way to figure out what happened in the past and how it translates to the present. So,
and anytime, Steve, it's more about getting back into your own body.
Sure.
Our culture kind of keeps people in their heads and beside themselves and behind themselves and in front of themselves instead of in their bodies. And to be more consciously aware, mindful, if you like, is also part of the work. I've had some wonderful teachers along the way. And one of those is Rosalind Bruyere with the Healing Light Center Church. And she teaches from martial arts, and by finding the common threads that have gone through and still go through all the practices throughout the world that has to do with energy healing, because this is as old as people are. This was here long before we got so much into our left brains that we negated what we intuitively have a sense of. So, and there was Dr. Willard Fuller of the Lively Stones Fellowship. He was an amazing man. He has passed, but honest, I've got my hand up. I saw him turn people's amalgam fillings into gold and mine turned to silver. And I verified that. I only had one amalgam filling left at the time. But as I got older and I had to have a crown on that tooth, I took the filling to a jeweler, and he verified that it was silver, not amalgam. So, yeah. I met some amazing people, the 60s and 70s, 80s and 90s. I sometimes I think it has to do with solar flares or something. I'll let other people decide that. But there was a big splurge of research in this area and very talented people coming forward and doing all kinds of work that stimulates you to want to reach another level of awareness. It's all about consciousness. Yeah.
That's what I've learned in my journey. in
Yeah.
the last even 3 years to really hyper focus on my consciousness, my goals. And once you find that clarity that allows you to really see through the trees, and when I say the trees, that's life. There's so much going on over here. You got to see through all of that. You finally realize what you need, what you want, and why you act the way you do.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah.
Yeah.
And to accept yourself for the way you are
Well, that
and the
too.
path you're on. Yeah. Yeah. If people would go to my website at brendaastorino.com, they would get more definitions about what I do, and how I approach it. And it's always for the comfort and the best experience for the person. So if they want prayer with it, they get prayer with it. If they want just the energy session with hands, like a laying on of hands, okay. If they want the hands off the body, okay. If they want long distance work, which I've been getting extra training in to fine tune that's amazing work.
Hmm.
And in some ways, it's more powerful work.
So, what do people tell you, Brenda, when you work with them and you heal them, or you work to help them heal? What are some of the things they're telling you?
That they feel better, that they sleep better, that sometimes I'll say, as they open their eyes, what does the room look like to you? Well, it seems like it's more light filled. It seems bigger. In other words, there's a perceptual change that happens. They're able to take more information in a less emotional or guarded way. Thankfully, also because of the work they're doing in their own body, they often have a reduction in discomfort. In some states, I'm not allowed to use the word pain, so we'll call it discomfort. Life's a little easier, and sometimes it's a lot easier.
I like the way you put that, because pain is a painful word and it's a negative word at the same time. So, yeah, discomfort is it's a softer version of it. Not that we're trying to camouflage anything, but our words are our actions and our mindset. So I believe we have to carefully choose them for the best outcome.
Right.
Let's say somebody comes to you, and I know this goes deeper and there's, better explanation on your website, but let's say somebody comes to you and they're dealing with some discomfort, some challenges. Walk us through a healing session with you.
I would decide which technique is probably the best to start with for them. I would explain what it would be. Usually I have them sitting instead of lying down. I've switched and don't do the lying down very much anymore, because I want the person not to feel like they're having something happen to them, but that they're in control and they're a participant. I tell them what hand positions I'm going to use and ask them if anything feels or seems like it would feel uncomfortable. If so, then I change that position, that hand position. I tell them how long it will take. I suggest to them that to get more relaxed, they might want to think about their breathing, be aware of their breathing or their own heartbeat. If they come to me somewhat agitated, I will pace my breaths with their breaths and slow my breath down, and they'll slow their breath down. It's another form of grounding. And then I do the technique, and I've been trained to send light energy and sound energy through my hands. I also do toning work, but that's usually, if I do that, that's usually not until the end. If the person wants to discuss other things they're doing afterwards, where they can help themselves, or they would like to know about professionals in other areas like meditation or something, then I will give one or two suggestions. They'll give me feedback before and after. I use a piece of paper and a pencil, and I scan them with my hand over top of their body. And I'll put in that picture if something feels rough, if something has a specific color to it, if I get a taste in my mouth with it, if it feels cold or hot. And then afterwards, I will do the same thing. And then when they give me feedback, they'll say, well, I forgot to tell you my shoulder was bothering me, but it's not bothering me so much anymore. Then I'll write all that down.
Do you feel like when you're working with somebody, whether it's in person or virtually, do you actually feel their energy, or let's say a challenging spot within their body, like, shoulder pain?
Yeah.
Now,
it doesn't mean I'm going to pick up on everything, but yes. And while there are teachers that believe, I'm not a teacher, I don't have a curriculum, so I'm sharing with you, but there are teachers that teach that only a percentage of the population will be able to see the color that's around the body. And that is sort of like a DNA thing. But scanning, I don't know of anybody that I've met that cannot learn to scan with their hands and can't pick up on some things with feeling the energy around the body. You'd be surprised how easy it is to learn.
Are you really learning how to do it, or are you really blocking all the distractions so that you can focus better?
Oh, good point. That's true. And I think it's mostly self-confidence, just building up self-confidence, because if you told your dad when you were 10 years old, oh man, I can feel that spot in her body where it's like it's an empty place or something. And they'd say, that's your imagination. Don't believe that stuff. Somebody's influencing you. Don't believe that. So once you have a few experiences doing it and you practice it, you get better and better at it.
Tell us what happened in your life that got you to where you are now.
Well, I've always been interested in this. My family is kind of along those lines. I've had gifted people in both sides of my family. But it was more like something you do on the weekend with your friends, and it wasn't that big of a thing. I did get some Reiki training early on, but I really think that's kind of a DNA thing too. It wasn't my bag. However, in my early 40s, I was in a bad car accident, had a brain injury. I went out a window. So I had severe, I don't want to say severe, I had significant injuries throughout my body. And I was in physical therapy, eye therapy, eye brain therapy, all kinds of different therapies for about 4.5 years. So it was a journey. And I found that things like craniosacral work did wonders for me. Some forms of Reiki. And I found some energy workers that were doing a form of energy that made a significant change. Now, I've had neuropsych testing for the brain injury. My neuropsych scores do not change. However, my functioning level did change. I became much more functional, even though the test scores didn't change. Figure that one out. So I found out that I could get more therapy for the buck if I took the courses, because half the courses you're working on them or they're working on you, so you can learn how to do it. So in doing that, I found out I liked helping other people with it. I liked doing it also.
So in the time we have left, I want to pivot away from the energy healing, if we may, to the other things that you're involved in. And they include art, poetry. We're going to get to your book in just a moment. But when we talk about art, subconscious painting, I have an idea, if I put those two words together, what it could be, but I'm not sure. So please explain.
Okay. This is a lot of fun. Everybody should be doing this just because it's fun. And it's another way to learn about yourself. So I've always done art all my life, but the brain injury made it so that I could not do art anymore the way I used to. I couldn't, my fine motor control wasn't there. Just my ability to do what I used to do wasn't there. So I went to get an art lesson thinking at least I'll get to play with colors. And he heard my story. He blindfolded me. He took a saucer and put 3 colors in it and handed me a sponge. He said, "What do you want to do? What do you want to do a painting of?" I said, "A cherub." And so he said, "Go for it." And so it was hard to keep at it. Sponge in the 3 colors, sponge on the canvas. And he's
without seeing. Yeah.
Without seeing. And I want to stop because it feels silly. And he keeps me on there for like 20 minutes doing it. We're just in a corner of the canvas. And he said, "Okay, now look." And all the time I'm concentrating on the cherub. And I take off my blindfold and oh my God, it scared the jeepers out of me. I didn't do art for a while. It scared me. And then sometime later, a number of months, a couple of years later, I went back and started doing it again. And I would tape record prayers or mantra or a song, my favorite song, and I would do it. And it's amazing. One time I had prayers, I was listening to prayers repeat about Saint Michael, and it didn't look like Saint Michael. And I thought, oh, this isn't going to work every time. Heck with this. And I went back and got it out off the shelf again and looked at it. It was a green man from a side view. Do you know what a green man is? You've seen the garden decorations of the man's face. He looks kind of lionish, but he's made out of leaves. And he's like the spirit of life in the garden, of the flora in the garden. And I thought, well, that fits Saint Michael over the earth on one end and the green man over your garden on the other end of the spectrum.
Wow.
So I kind of felt that fit. So I've sort of taken it to other places, combine it with a little more structure at times and less structure other times. When I'm in a big emotional state, I want to get that emotion out. I just go for it with the emotion and write the emotion. And it's funny, but those are usually the paintings that sell, are the ones.
Well, well, I'm in my journey. I've learned that when it comes to art,
Yeah.
even photographs, each has an imprint of energy. There's a reason that out of the bazillion artists in this world over the centuries, countless, really, there's got to be countless, that only certain artists have made a mark. And I believe it's not just their talent, it's the energy that they put into their work that we pick up when we look at their work. I've even learned that you look at a photograph, it's God. I call it energy DNA. It of each person is in that photograph. And that's why certain things resonate and certain things don't. So it must be the energy that you put into those particular pieces, paintings, whatever it might be, that resonates with other people.
I think so. I find that I can also get more of a look of movement in the art when I'm doing that, which I like that. I like it to look like my art is moving. So,
well, I can tell you this, and we're just about out of time. I want to find out how we find your book. I wanted to be a syndicated cartoonist when I was a kid.
Great.
And I came kind of close when I was like 22. I was already doing broadcasting since I was 17. So I just went in that direction. Haven't stopped since, obviously. But my biggest challenge in any art was overthinking it. It's got to be good. Rip it up, throw it up. No, do it again. It sounds like you're not overthinking the pieces that resonate with others.
Absolutely right.
Just flowing from you. It's coming out of you. It's there's a conduit from your energy through your hands, whatever, sponge, doesn't even matter, to whatever medium that you're working with, and people pick up on that. How do we see more of this? I know that you have a book. Do you have a website? How do we find you?
BrendaAsterino.com. And my book is Pathways, Walking Through Creation. And it has some spiritual poems in it, but it also has a lot of activist. I'm an activist. So truth and justice, consciousness, those changing our culture, those things are very important to me. And if you want to find poetry that helps you love being a woman more, if you want to hear about love, if you want to hear about activism,
check out the book.
Please go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble, Pathways, Walking Through Creation. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank you. Love your story. Love your creativity and your passion for sharing your art and also healing or helping people heal. Your website is your name, right?
Yes.
And that's Brenda Asterino. So Brenda, obviously, it's spelled BRENDA, ASTRINO.com.
ASTERINO.
I'm looking right at it. Steve needs to wear his glasses more often. I'm literally looking right at it and left out the E. Sorry about that. Wonderful talking with you, Brenda, and wish you all the best. And thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you so much, Steve.
And we'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.